Today I'm going to share with you an extraordinary story. And what makes this extraordinary is that I finally learned something in maths that was directly relevant to the real world. It was term 2, and we had recently completed a test. My teacher said she'd had trouble marking my paper because for one of the questions, I'd somehow got the correct answer, but my working was completely wrong. This was quite amusing, given that over the past few years, I'd accidentally become an expert at getting the right answers with the wrong working. Right from the first day at my new school, I began learning this accidental talent, and this time, it wasn't in maths class. I arrived at my new school thinking that I would learn something new in the classroom. But imagine, if you will, a small 10-year-old girl sitting in the assembly hall, listening, awestruck, to the newly elected head girl address the student body for the first time. I've since forgotten what she said, but I knew an answer from that moment. I thought that one day, that would be me, the head girl of 2018, standing up on that stage. I was driven to get involved in a multitude of activities: choirs, debating, sports teams, school ambassador, productions, coaching, you name it. There was probably a badge on my blazer for it. Although I never did any of this solely because I wanted to be the head girl, I can see that looking back, this was my subconscious working towards achieving the answer that I had set out for myself. 7 years went past quickly, and by the time we got to 2017, my blazer was a danger to magnets. So was the pressure that began to accumulate quickly as my peers, teachers, and myself began to turn this 10-year-old's dream into an expectation. I thought that head girl plus Charlotte equaled the only possible way to give back to my school through leadership in year 13. At our school, all prospective prefects give a 1-minute speech to the assembly, and then everyone votes. However, once I'd sat down from giving my speech, I no longer held any control over the outcome of the situation. I'd done the correct working to the best of my ability, and now it was time to wait for the answer. There we all were, in the hall at senior prize giving, waiting through various awards, few of which I recall. The name of the deputy head girl was announced, and then my name wasn't announced for the position that I'd come to think of as my purpose. My way to give back to the school was not going to be mine. I felt confused, crushed, and mostly disappointed in myself because in my eyes, I didn't match up to the person who I thought I was. Not a leader, not someone who could be of service or who could create impact in anyone's lives. Now, let's stop right there and take a look at this story. In essence, I set a goal and didn't achieve it. So my first thoughts were to give up entirely. Using this logic, does that mean if you apply for a job one day and don't receive it, you just remain unemployed for the rest of your life? Or if you fail your driving test the first time, like I did, you just decide that perhaps you weren't meant to be a driver? No. You apply for another job, or you pay the reset fee and try again. So what is the difference when it comes to our goals? Why are we so apprehensive to try again? We want to fulfill expectations for an obvious reason, because we are often told it is the primary route to doing well at life. Think about it. It's not the A grade itself, or the medal in basketball, or the leadership position that we want. We want to pursue these things because one day we understandably want to have a fulfilling career with meaningful relationships and the respect of others. Sometimes we get so caught up fulfilling these expectations that we completely forget where they came from. Who defines the expectations we pursue? On our quest to do well in school, it is easy to believe that mistakes are inherently bad because there is a right and a wrong answer for everything. We are told to put up our hands and ask and keep asking for permission. We are told to deliver on rather than change expectations. How did I come to this realization? My true turning point came following senior prize giving, when I learned about the concept of a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. In the fixed mindset, our abilities are set, and everything is about the outcome. If you fail, or if you're not the best, it's all been wasted. You are either a leader or not a leader, intelligent or not intelligent. People who live in the fixed mindset thrive doing what they know they're best at, in safe conditions, neatly tucked inside their comfort zone. Common dialogue sounds like this. I just can't do maths. I don't understand, but I won't ask a question because I don't want to look silly in front of others. If I don't get this leadership position, I guess I'm just not a leader. On the other hand, the growth mindset says that our abilities are malleable and allows people to find a purpose in what they're doing regardless of the outcome. They're tackling problems, charting new courses, working on important issues. Even in the growth mindset, failure can be a painful experience, but it doesn't define you. It's a problem to be faced, dealt with, and learned from. When I learned about the two mindsets, I immediately decided that I wanted to change ship based on my recent experiences with leadership. It was exhausting being fixated on achieving the correct working and believing that I somehow had to be validated by external means to be considered successful. Besides, in the real world, beyond gold, shiny badges, who defines what the correct answer is? The truth is that the answer is completely subjective and everyone's working will look different. Therefore, we might have a better chance at working it out if we stopped looking outside ourselves. Instead, we could focus on knowing our own purpose, what our values are, and what we stand for. That all sounds good and well, but how exactly do we resist the temptation of relying on external indicators of success and instead turning inwardly towards our purpose? Here are 3 practicable steps you can use as soon as you leave this event. They go by the name CPR. Think of it as CPR for your goals. The first being C, to change your mindset. Just by knowing about the concept of a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, you can start thinking and acting in new ways. You may even start to catch yourself in the throes of the fixed mindset, passing up a chance for learning, feeling labeled by a failure, or getting discouraged when something requires a lot of effort. For fellow students, practice exams are a perfect example of this. In these times, make an effort to switch into the growth mindset. Take the challenge, learn from the failure, continue the effort, or decide the best strategy moving forward. The bottom line is that you keep moving with the knowledge that challenges help you grow. Once you are making an effort to live in the growth mindset, the second step is to know your purpose. Now, purpose is not a new age gaga term. It is simply the reason for why we do what we do. Knowing our purpose acts as a buffer between the effort we put into anything we find meaningful and the inherent challenges that we will face along the way. When I discovered that my purpose is to connect the dots for others so that they can be empowered to lead themselves better, I understood that what I wanted to achieve in 2018 was irrespective of being head girl. In fact, this didn't even have to be in my working at all. You can find purpose in anything that is meaningful to you. It is not inherently self-oriented, but strong purpose also encompasses our own intention to contribute to the well-being of others. There is a great parable about 3 bricklayers, each of whom were asked, "What are you doing?" The first says, "I'm laying bricks." The second says, "I'm putting up a wall," while the third says, "I'm building a cathedral." The first bricklayer is doing his job. The second has a vision, while the third is motivated by a mission. Although all 3 are doing the exact same job, the third bricklayer has purpose. He's working for a higher calling. He's out to create something spectacular. When it comes to our own lives, if we were to picture ourselves within that parable as a bricklayer, how would we respond to that question? Like the bricklayer who is building with purpose, we see how purpose motivates students through research. Developmental psychologists David Yeager and Matt Bundick found this pattern in adolescents through their studies. In one study, they interviewed around 100 adolescents, asking them what they wanted to be when they grew up and why. Now, some talked about their future in purely self-oriented terms. For example, "I want to be a fashion designer because it's a fun thing to do," while others only talked about their future in other oriented motives, such as, "I want to be a doctor to help people out." Now, some young people mentioned both self and other-oriented motives, and 2 years later, these young people rated their schoolwork as more personally meaningful than classmates who named either motive alone. I realized that this is exactly what I had done, elicited a purpose that not only motivated me personally, but encompassed my drive to empower other students to lead themselves. There were a whole host of exciting opportunities that could edge me further towards this higher goal. Like Yeager and Bundick showed, having purpose is profoundly motivating. Your focus shifts from the what to the why, because there is never one straight track towards purpose. Finally, and the part that is often left out when we talk about goals, is to exercise resilience. I use the verb exercise intentionally because just like any other muscle in your body, resilience is something that must be consistently worked on and practiced time and time again. It is inherent that the more you live in a growth mindset with a strong purpose, the more you will encounter adversity. So, how do you go to the resilience gym? The reality is we are given opportunities to be resilient or retreat back into the fixed mindset every day. Actively seek constructive criticism. Work on your biggest weakness. Next time you feel low, think about learning and confronting obstacles. Is there something you've always wanted to do but you were afraid you weren't good at? Make a plan to do it. The key to these exercises is approaching them with the belief that failure is welcomed. It is hard, that's why it's a practice. But with each adverse experience that comes your way, you are even better equipped for what comes next. With a growth mindset, a strong purpose, and the belief that failure is your friend, your goals now propel you rather than inhibit you. When you approach life with the sense of responsibility that you cannot not contribute, you thrive off adversity by looking for new ways to approach the problem at hand and exercising resilience. You are dedicated to getting the right answer, even if that means doing working that society deems wrong to get there. It took my experiences with leadership positions for me to realize that if I am a true leader, I can't wait to be handed a title before I create impact. I can't be so fixated on achieving the correct working that I lose sight of the answer I'm aiming for. When I began to be guided by my purpose, rather than my beliefs on positions, that was when I could take a full pivot and work towards my goals. I am a leader. I create impact in my school and am of service to others. But my working to get there is completely different to what I once considered to be the correct way. So next time you find yourself getting transfixed on that new promotion or getting that scholarship to go to that university, ask yourself how this outcome would allow you to achieve what you couldn't in any other way. It is highly likely that when you are living in the growth mindset with a strong purpose and a toned resilience muscle, you'll find that there are always other ways you can achieve your goals. If there is one thing I would like you to take away from today, it is to ask, who are you when your job, your sport, the subjects you take, and your leadership positions are taken away? What is your purpose outside achieving these goals? And how are you leading yourself to your version of success? For true leaders are made, not born, and they're not made by external means. They're made by themselves, the goals they set, the decisions they make, the purpose they choose. With purpose, we now have a responsibility to never be held back by what we can't control. The reality is, I can't control most of what comes next, and neither can you. But what we can control is both how we feel about and respond to situations. I, for one, am grateful for the pivotal adversity I experienced at age 16, as I now understand that there is never one correct set of working to get to the right answer, just as I learned in maths all those years ago.